My job is a very simple one, to open this high-level dialogue. And so I could just declare it open and go back and sit down. But I guess I'm expected to say a few things. Let me proceed on established protocol, but recognize our former heads of states and prime ministers, former prime ministers, to acknowledge our acting Chief Justice, former Chief Justice, ministers of state, our traditional leaders, and distinguished ladies and gentlemen who have assembled here this morning. It's with profound honor and heartfelt warmth that I welcome you all to Accra, the historic capital of Ghana, the cradle of Africa's independence struggle, and the spiritual home of Pan-Africanism. And our foreign minister added, welcome to the center of the earth. He didn't go on to explain why, but it's that the meridian and the equator intersect in Ghana's territory, and that's why we say it's the center of the earth. We're very privileged to host the 13th high-level dialogue on democracy and human rights, governance, peace, and security, an essential forum at a defining moment in Africa's development trajectory. This year's dialogue, convened under the theme Justice, Rights, Reparations, and State Building, reaffirms our shared commitment to confronting the structural challenges that continue to shape Africa's condition. It reflects our collective will to advance democracy, uphold human rights, strengthen governance, and ensure peace and security for the people of our continent. It also affirms our conviction that true and lasting peace can only be achieved when justice exists, when the rights of our people are respected, and when governance systems are truly inclusive, accountable, and are owned by the people that they serve. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, this dialogue could not have come at a more appropriate time. For far too long, the architecture of African states has rested on foundations imposed during a colonial era that neither understood nor respected our histories, our culture, or our aspirations. The enduring legacies of slavery, colonial exploitation, systemic racism, and economic subjugation are still visible today in the arbitrary borders that divide our peoples, in the financial hardships imposed by unjust global systems, and in the fragile governance systems, institutions that we are still struggling to strengthen. We gather here not only to examine this painful past, but also to shape a different and a better future for our continent, where African agency, sovereignty, and dignity are restored and respected. A future where state building is informed by our context, shaped by our people, and owned by our African communities. Ghana is honored to contribute to this continental vision. From the bold Pan-African ideals of Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, our first president, to our current engagement on reparative justice and democratic consolidation, Ghana has always stood at the forefront of the struggle for African dignity, unity, and self-determination. We believe that unity is our historical imperative and our most effective instrument for achieving justice and prosperity. The Ghanaian people remain committed to building a continent where no one is left behind and every voice is heard and valued. Yet, we must be honest. This dialogue cannot afford to become another ceremonial event filled with lofty speeches but void of action. Our citizens are watching and waiting. Our young people comprise the majority of our population and are growing increasingly impatient. They are not asking for charity, they demand fairness, they demand opportunity, and a stake in our continent's future. Civil society is mobilized, our diaspora is engaged, and our institutions, though still evolving, are increasingly bold and ready to deliver. We must rise to the occasion not with rhetoric, but with clear action. In that spirit, allow me to place before you two urgent recommendations. And the first is I wish to commend the African Union Executive Council for extending the theme of the year on reparations to a decade on reparations. And so from 2026 to 2036 has been declared as the decade of reparations by the African Union. I also wish to commend the Executive Council for approving the terms of reference for the African Union Commission of Experts on Reparations and the African Union Reference Group of Legal Experts on Reparations. These are critical milestones. However, we must now move swiftly to operationalize these instruments. We must empower these bodies with the resources, visibility, and mandate to lead us on this noble journey of truth, justice, and restitution. Let this not be another declaration left on paper. Let it be a living mandate for action. Secondly, I urge this dialogue to take a firm stand on the need for legally binding frameworks across all member states to safeguard our civic space. We must protect the right to organize, to protest, and participate. We must preserve the freedom of the press. The voices of the youth and our women and marginalized groups must be heard and protected. Democracy cannot thrive in the presence of fear or repression. The legitimacy of our governments depends on the inclusion of all our people. Governments must exist for all our people and not just a few. Equally important is the need to prioritize political education as a pillar of state building, widespread civic disengagement is not simply a matter of apathy. It is often the result of exclusion, mistrust, and systemic failure. And therefore, we must integrate political and civic education into our school curriculum. We must encourage public engagement through national dialogues and community platforms. And we must ensure that our democratic institutions speak a language our citizens understand and trust. Democracy must be more institutional. It must not be just institutional, it must be relational. It must be rooted in the daily lives, experiences, and expectations of our people. This dialogue must be remembered as a meeting of minds and a moment of continental reawakening. We must boldly pursue justice for our past, present, and future generations. Justice must inform the institutions we create, the policies we enact, and the leadership that we embody. This is not a romantic notion. It is a practical and achievable goal if we are united, determined, and courageous to pursue it. And so let us make this dialogue count. Let us not merely reflect, but let us act, let us speak of Africa's potential and realize it in our lifetime. On this note, it is with deep conviction and hope for our collective future that I have the honor and privilege of declaring the 13th High-Level Dialogue on Human Rights, Democracy, and Governance officially opened. Akwaba.
Share your thoughts in the comment section. Don't forget, this is news on WIDERmedia. Stay tuned for more news.